everyone and welcome back to another video, welcome back to another recent read. I haven't done one for 2023 probably in a while, so I thought I'd bring these back, and I thought I would start off by talking about some poetry collections that I've read recently. Poetry collections are probably one of the only things I'm really buying this year because I've been trying to utilise my library a lot more in terms of all the other books that I want. And I was trying to use the Scottish Poetry Library to fulfil my my poetry needs, because you can request books for free. They'll send them to you, I think only if you live in Scotland, obviously. And yeah, you can just read like loads of poems for free, but they don't have a lot of like contemporary poets. So basically all the poets that I've wanted to read, a lot of them I've had to purchase myself, but one of them I did borrow from the Scottish Poetry Library, and I will talk about in this video as well. So we're just going to go in, well, not going to go in random order. We're going to talk about this one because this was the book that I gave 5 stars. I mentioned in one of my reading vlogs that I went to the launch of this poetry collection. It was also the launch of 2 other poetry collections as well, and this is published by Ver Poetry Press, who are based in Birmingham. And I actually have another poetry collection from them. I believe it's called Rude. I saw Rebecca Nassim read from her collection, and I just loved the way she performed. I loved the way she plays with language in her poetry, and I was just completely blown away. There were a lot of Arabic words in here, so there is a glossary at the back to let you know what they all mean, but a lot of this is playing with language. So her parents are from Iran, and a lot of this is talking about, I guess, the separation between her parents like leaving Iran and coming to, I believe it's Newcastle, I could be wrong, and that sort of divide between like her, I guess, being born, I'm only assuming, in the UK, and then having grandparents and a lot of family that are back there, and just feeling that separation, that loss of your culture, and all those sorts of things. And then there's things about like dating, there's things about growing up, I guess, in Newcastle, but she plays with language in such a nice way, and what I mean by that is playing with language just like the English language, but then also playing with the dialect of, I guess, the area that she's from, and then also playing with Arabic as well. And I just thought it was all so clever, and I just love the way it sounds. When she read it, I was just like captivated, completely blown away, but then reading it as well, it's so beautiful. I think sometimes you can hear poems being performed and it's fantastic, and you read it and it feels a bit flat. I never really felt that with any of her poems. She also talks about her childhood in here, and like growing up with her brother, and just like, you know, I guess like random snippets of their life as well. So there's a lot of like nostalgia in this book as well. I just like this. There's nostalgia in the sense of as well, like she writes about, I guess, a particular nightclub in Newcastle, I believe. And it was just nice. So it's such a nice range of poems, and I think it really shows the sort of breadth and depth of herself as a poet. So yeah, I was completely blown away. I feel like a bit of a fangirl, but I just honestly really love this collection. Would highly recommend it. The next poetry collection I'm going to talk about is Somebody Give This Heart a Pen by Sophia Thakur. I gave this 2.5 stars. I just kind of fell in the middle of I like this, but it didn't blow me away. And I believe she is a performance poet. So you know how I said before about sometimes people can perform their poetry and you're like, oh my god, but when you read it sometimes it falls a bit flat. I think that might be the case for me, except I've never seen her perform. So someone did comment, and I think either I did a book haul when I showed this, maybe in a reading vlog or something, saying that I should watch her performance poetry, so I definitely will do that. I liked some of the poems, but like I said, I just kind of, when I was reading them, I was just like, okay. There was none that I was just like, I really dislike. I like the way she writes, I like the things that she chooses to write about, so she chooses to write about love, I guess like life, I want to say life in London, but I don't know that she grew up in London, but I guess like life in a particular city. She talks about illness and death, just a whole range of things that you would expect, you know, anyone who's using their life as inspiration for poetry to sort of cover. So it covers a wide range of topics. She covers racism in here, what it's like, you know, to just love your skin and growing to love your skin colour despite any sort of differences, and all those sorts of things, I guess, that kind of come with like living in the UK and like the US, but she is a UK poet. So it wasn't a bad collection by any means. It just wasn't one that I was completely blown away by, but I will definitely try and check out some of her performance poetry online. Another poetry collection that I've read and have spoken about in a reading vlog, so I will link that up here, is I Hope This Finds You Well, poems by Kate Bayer. Again, well, I say again, it's because I'm thinking of the video, but if you haven't seen it, that doesn't mean anything to you. This is actually quite a nice project, and I believe it took her quite a number of years to undertake. Essentially what this is poetry that has been created from emails that she has been sent. So you can see where she has blanked out things and then left it to reveal the poem. So here is like what she was originally sent, and I guess she's blanked out like if it was a company, the person's name or whatever, and then on this side is the poem. So you can't even see that on the screen, but you'll be able, like, if you can imagine, just like not words scored out, words can just completely blanked out to leave a poem. So for example, we've got this section here where you can see quite a few bit of words if you can, the light is shining on it so hard, and then this poem is called Ari, the comment section under a gay couple surprise engagement. So whatever, there's a whole bunch of comments here, and she has turned it into God created love to explain the world inside us. So obviously she's just marked out all the bits other people have said and then created a poem from it, as I've said multiple times. So it's quite nice. I guess it's a really nice project to undertake because she uses it from like comments that she has, I guess, seen online, comments that she receives on her Instagram, emails that she gets, so it's quite a wide range of material in that sense. And then I guess the topic of what it is depends on, one, what the person has said to her, but I guess also what she's able to make a poem out of. So it was interesting. It was definitely a nice way to sort of read poetry. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and I think it's one of those collections where it's kind of like A for effort and then maybe like C, B for like actual execution, because it is a great idea, and you know, turning those sort of comments of hate into, you know, art, something different from what it originally was, is quite nice. But then like not all of them sound great, so you know, there you go, that's why I said that. So the book that I borrowed from the Scottish Poetry Library was Refusing Heaven by Jack Gilbert, and I'm so glad I actually was able to get this one because it was in my Amazon basket for ages, and I'm just like, because I didn't enjoy it, I'm glad that I didn't buy it. So I gave this 2 out of 5 stars, and for this one I will read the blurb because for me, it's one of those poetry collections that I think I had down from years and years ago, because either someone read a really nice poem from it, or probably that, or there was like a nice line from it, and I was like, let me see what the rest of his work is like. And there were a couple of nice poems that I did like, and maybe I'll put one on the screen, because I remember sending it to someone, because like I felt like it kind of fit their situation. But overall, like there were like 3 to 5 poems, so I think I was like, oh my god, wow. The rest I could have completely done without. So the blurb for this says, more than a decade after Jack Gilbert's The Great Fires, this high-knit blurb collection shows the continued development of a poet who has remained fierce in his avoidance of the beaten path. In Refusing Heaven, Gilbert writes compellingly about the commingled passion, loneliness, and sometimes surprising happiness of life spent in luminous understanding of his own blessings and shortcomings. And then it goes on to quote some of the poems, and it says here, time slows down in these poems as Gilbert creates an aura of curiosity and wonder at the fact of existence itself. Despite powerful intermittent griefs over the woman he has parted with or the one lost to cancer, Gilbert's choice in this volume is to refuse heaven. He prefers this title with its struggle and alienation and delights to any paradise. His work is both a rebellious assertion of the call to clarity and a profound affirmation of the world in all its aspects. It braces the reader in its humanity and heart. The reason I wanted to read that out is, I've said this multiple times and it sounds like a broken record saying it, sometimes I think the blurbs of poetry collections are so much better than the actual collections themselves. That blurb is beautiful, wonderful, and definitely would always captivate me to want to read the collections. I just didn't get a lot of that from those poems, and I think it's just different people, different reactions, simply because I know a lot of people find his work fantastic. This was my first I think entry into his work. I probably would have read poems randomly here and there over the years, but to actually sit down and read a solid collection, first introduction, and I wasn't blown away, but that's fine. I don't really like this kind of poetry. I don't know how else, like I just know in my aura and I was reading it, I was like, this is not the kind of poetry that I'm gonna vibe with, but it wasn't too bad. The final book I'm going to speak about today is All the Men I Never Married by Kim Moore, or the Final Poetry Collection, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this because I thought this book would become quite repetitive because of how the topic it's on and how it's formatted. So obviously this is about all the men she never married, and it says here it's 48 number poems that take us through a gallery of exes and significant others where we encounter rage, pain, guilt and love. And I thought this is probably just going to be a bit boring. Like, it's going to be not boring, I thought it was going to be great, but I thought it was going to be repetitive. But she manages to craft each poem so like uniquely that actually you always feel like you're reading something different. And she also plays around with different styles as well. Not all that I like. There's one that I'm sure it's just like all slashes, you know, when it's like da-da-da slash this, and I don't really like poems like that at all. I don't know why. I don't vibe with it at all. But there were so many beautiful poems in here that you felt that each one was, obviously they're all crafted individually, but you really felt that. But especially when you're reading these side by side, one after the other, you would think that you think, I've read this one already, but no, she covers a wide range of topics. And like it says, like, you know, it's got rage, pain, guilt, love. It's all about just sort of encounters with, you know, significant others, but also just like very random people that you encounter maybe just on like one night, and it doesn't play like the hugest part in your life. And I just thought it was really well executed, this collection. It's really topical, so it's got things in there like not all men, obviously with that recent hashtag, and focuses a lot on like obviously violence against women, sexual assault, and those kind of lines as well. Focuses on misogyny, so many things. Like it's just, if I sat here and talked about everything it included, I'd be here forever. There were just lovely bits that I would like, either if I enjoy a poem I put an asterisk at the top, you won't be able to see that, and then usually I just underline, like if it's my actual collection I will underline in pencil. And one of the poems is this, just poem 43, one of the stanzas that I really liked, it says here, now that the beasts that lived in my chest have turned tail and fled, now that I am open and the sky has come in and left me with nothing but space, now that I'm ready. And it continues on to another stanza, but I really love that first opening of that line, like, now that the beasts that lived in my chest have turned tail and fled. So yeah, she creates a lot of beautiful imagery in her poems, and I just think absolutely outstanding. For example, another line, this will be the last line that I quote, it says here, but in the dark you were none of this, you were heat and blood and fingers and chest. And I just love that. I love that because I can vividly picture that. I know what that is. So yeah, I just thought, excellent collection. So I really feel like this year, not that I'm like in my bag with poetry, but there are so many poetry collections that I think I've seen people like either read on Goodreads and thought, I want to read that, or like I've had in my collection for ages, which I'm just now making my way through because I'm like, it's now never, not because anything big is going to happen, but just because like I feel like I've had a lot of these books on my list for years. These ones are actually quite recent, so all the ones that I showed, I've actually only heard about them this year, but for some of the others it's been a while. I'm also getting Life on Mars by Tracy K. Smith delivered. Hopefully it comes the next couple of days, because I think it might have gone out of print by the publisher, which is Grey Wolf Press, I believe, because the price seems to have shot up, and for ages I wanted to read it, I haven't, so I'm just going to read it now. Like, I was looking for a new collection to buy, and it's going to be that one. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what poetry collections you're reading, and if you have any recommendations for me, I'm always up for recommendations. I think I am like starting to run low, so recommendations would be good. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in another one. Bye.